You're listening to Thunder Quack Podcast Network. This is the Thunder Quack Podcast, the official podcast of Thunder Quack Podcast Network, where anything can happen. So strap yourselves in and hold on to your butts. It's Thunder Quack time!
Hello and welcome back to the Thunder Quack Podcast, the official podcast of thunderquack.com. You can get it early every Tuesday morning on patreon.com/thunderquack, or you can wait and get it late every Friday on podcast services across the galaxy. I am one of your hosts, Michael Cohen.
And I'm your other host, Amanda Conkin.
I say every Tuesday, but like we take a week off every few weeks, but that's all right. You guys know that. Everything's fine. It's fine.
Happy May, though. This is our first one in May.
This is our first one in May. Happy May.
Yeah.
We should...
You made it. You made it 5 months into the year.
Yeah.
You're almost halfway there. Good job.
But you have lived through 5 years in those 5 months.
Essentially, yes.
And that really just in the last 2. The world is still a little bit nuts, but we're gonna try and distract you guys. Unless you are one of our uncut subscribers over on patreon.com/thunderquack, and you get the full version of the episode, in which case we're gonna simultaneously bum you out and lift you up. In that after the music at the end of the episode, but hey, you got to pay extra for that privilege, all right?
To be bummed out.
Yeah, to be bummed out and lifted up at the same time. Yeah. I think we did both in equal measure simultaneously.
Sure.
But let's we're gonna do 2 things in this episode. We're gonna talk about the ridiculousness of AMC theaters and what's been going on with them in the news for the last couple of weeks, and then we are going to watch the first 47 minutes and 53 seconds of Avengers Endgame as a watch along. So what's going to happen is you guys we're going to do this over the next 3 weeks. I've cut it into 3 parts, and then in the 4th week, when we take our week off, I'm actually going to take those 3 watch-alongs, stitch them together so that there's a separate audio file that's just a commentary track that goes through the whole movie. So know that going into the second half of the episode, that might happen. That's going to happen. So if you don't want to necessarily listen this week, you can just wait a few weeks and then watch the whole thing all at once. But we're basically breaking it up into the 3 movies that it actually is. Yeah. The 3 movies in one.
And the thing is, I may or may not have forgotten what we were podcasting about this week, as I am wont to do. And I did literally just watch the last part of Endgame this weekend because I just felt like it. And it's like a good movie in and of itself. Like,
it's okay because I've watched the movie 3 times, all the way through 3 times since quarantine started. So,
well, there you go.
Yeah, I mean...
Where it's very fresh in our... It's very fresh.
I don't know how many times I've watched Endgame. Like, I lost count sometime when it released on digital.
Nice.
Like, I just watch it all the time.
The only movie that I really... Well, no, that's not true. I watch a lot of movies over and over again. But I will say the movie that I can, without a doubt, say that I've watched the most in my life is Return of the Jedi. But I have zero idea how many times I've watched it, nor what movie would be the second runner. Like, I have no concept of what the second most watched movie it is. Like, I want to say it's probably something like Ever After, because I love Ever After. I've watched it so many times. But I watched Return of the Jedi again this weekend, and I just was like, I love this movie. So
we watched The Phantom Menace on Star Wars Day last week for Kara's first time. She hadn't seen The Phantom Menace, and it was interesting. It was interesting to watch it with an actual 3-year-old, because there's a lot of people who say that things like Jar Jar are for kids, and she definitely likes Jar Jar. But it's funny because she's watched a fair amount of Clone Wars, particularly the last season, as I was watching it. And 2 things were very apparent. She knows who Darth Maul is more than anybody else from the prequels.
Nice.
And she kept asking, when is Rey gonna show up?
Aw.
And I'm like, in 60 years. Not for a while. From Phantom Menace, it's 60 years later. It's actually 60 and some change, I think. But it was a bit of a bummer because she's seen the sequels. She's seen all three of them multiple times. But the original trilogy, she's only seen each one once, and then she hasn't watched the prequels. And this was I don't know, made necessary when she watched a scene from Revenge of the Sith. I may have talked about this recently on a podcast, and thought that Anakin Skywalker was Luke. Did I tell you about this?
No, this is new.
She came home from her grandparents and was like, I watched Star Wars with Grandpa, and I was like, did you now? Which one? Because you don't watch Star Wars movies with my kid before I've watched them. It's kind of not cool. But anyways, she's like, I'm like, who's in it? And she's like, Luke Skywalker and Princess Leia. And I was like, what was happening? And she's like, well, Luke was turning to the dark side and he killed Princess Leia. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? Luke turned to the dark side and then Princess Leia died. I'm like, that
doesn't happen at all.
That's very confusing. What movie are you thinking of? And then we eventually got to the heart of it, which was that, as I said, she can't tell the difference between Anakin Skywalker and Luke Skywalker. They are both white men with longish hair and lightsabers. And so she was talking about Revenge of the Sith, where Anakin kills Padme. And the way that we figured it out is that I was like, who else was there? Because I thought that she was confused about the end of The Last Jedi. Because Luke shows up at the end of that movie in mostly black and goes out and fights Kylo Ren. And it's kind of... To a 3-year-old, I'm like, maybe this could be misconstrued. Because that's the only one where I'm thinking, like, well, Luke fights and he could be evil and he talks to Leia, right?
Right.
So, trying to figure this out. And I'm like, who else was there? And eventually we got R2-D2 was also there. Right. And then the other boy. And then the other boy came. And I was like... And that's where I was like, Kylo Ren is the other boy? Like, are you talking about The Last Jedi? Is this what happened? And she's like, no, that's not right. And she's like, Luke Skywalker killed Princess Leia. And I was like, that doesn't happen in The Last Jedi. And that's when I went, was the other boy Obi-Wan Kenobi? And she goes, yeah. Because she knows who Obi-Wan is because she has to. Because there are effigies in my home. Yeah. It's just impossible not to. And she's like, yeah, Obi-Wan Kenobi was there. And I was like, okay. And then I brought it up and showed her the scene. And I'm like, is this what you were talking about? And it was the end of Revenge of the Sith. So, which wasn't cool because she hadn't seen that. And it was like, why are you showing my kid the end of Revenge of the Sith? Not age appropriate for a 3-year-old. Not that I'm not going to show it to her, but when I do, she will have watched the rest of it, and then I will be there to talk to her about it and say, like, this is going to get really scary and dark and, like bad stuff is going to happen. But just throwing a kid into the deep end of the last act of Revenge of the Sith is, just not the way it's done, but that's okay.
Maybe he thought you'd seen it already because
maybe. I don't think that he thought about it at all.
Yeah,
I think that he was just watching it and she came in and it was on.
That's fair.
But most people don't think of Star Wars as being as precious as we do and probably most of our listeners. But I think the average human being just thinks of them as, what's the word for it? Movies. They're just movies. I had this really weird, like
like feeling the other day where when I was watching Return of the Jedi, and it just like made me happy, as it does. And it's been weird being home and being like a full grown, like I turned 34, I think. Oh God. Anyways, so I like had a birthday where I'm not of an insignificant age. And to see my dad just laugh when he looks at me, like my sister, if my sister comes by and we're sitting outside, and I was like, "Oh, we could play a game." And so I'm just there like setting up the game, and my dad just like looks over because nobody's around. Like nobody has like come to like sit down to be like, "Yes, we're gonna play this game." And I'm just like setting it up by myself. And he just like looks over and he just like shakes his head. He's like, "You just like are like a little kid." And I'm like, "Yes, because there's things that I love." And then I was thinking about that about Return of the Jedi. I'm just sitting there like eating my popcorn, and my mom is there watching it with me, and my dad's doing his puzzle. He doesn't really care. But I'm like, this makes me so happy. And I'm like, there are people that just haven't watched Return of the Jedi ever and just don't love this movie. And it made me sad that there are people that don't love Star Wars. Anyways, because I think that it's important to have things that you love.
I think,
and I just like,
I think more than that, there are people who just deny themselves joy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Why would you do that to yourself?
Star Wars is definitely one of those things that like I hear people go like, yeah, I don't watch Star Wars movies, or I don't watch those Marvel movies. And I'm like, so you are averse to fun? And then when they try and tell me like, yeah, well, I just don't find them fun, I'm like, cool. So there's a part of your soul that's just missing. Because like, I don't think that it's a stretch to say that Star Wars and the Marvel movies are pretty universally adored, right? Yeah. Like there's something more than just like, hey, they're pretty good flicks, right? Yeah. Like there's a sociological, psychological element to storytelling like that, to hero's journey and stuff like that like it connects with us on a deeper level than just a good movie. Because like, hey, there are lots of movies that I like that are just good movies. Top Gun is just a good movie, right? I love Top Gun, but it's just a good movie. Like it doesn't, like Top Gun doesn't like speak to me on like a deep psychological level. It's just like F-15s are cool. Tom Cruise is a great actor. There's some pretty sexy scenes in it. It's got a great score. Like it's a good movie, right? But like Star Wars is, when it's at its best, like Star Wars is transcendent, right? The movie we're going to talk about later, Endgame. When we get to in 2 more weeks, when we get to the portal scene, like that scene is not a cool moment in a movie. That scene like transforms your state of being if you're in the right frame of mind, right? Like it's transcendence, the best word for it. Like it's for me, it's akin to a religious experience, right? And it's why I've watched the movie so many times, and it's why I do watch the movies that I watch, and why I enjoy the type of content that I enjoy. And that's gonna, like, mileage is gonna vary, but at least most people are going to enjoy it, right? But those people who choose not to, the people who choose to be too cool to throw a frisbee, right? Like it's like I could name like 100 things where it's like not eating ice cream, right?
Right. Yeah,
like there are so many things in life that and everybody does it, and I'm guilty of it too from time to time. I was just thinking the other day, because the weather switched over from being dreary and raining and cold in Vancouver to all of a sudden being 28 degrees. And so it was like, okay, I got to go under the bed into the storage and pull out all my shorts. And I did, and I put my shorts on for the first time this year. And as I do every year, I'm reminded of the phase that I went through from about the 8th grade until I was 22, where I didn't wear shorts. I just didn't wear shorts because I thought that it was lame to wear shorts.
Huh.
So living in Penticton in 34-degree heat, I just wore jeans. In fact, there was a year where I thought jeans were so like common that I just wouldn't wear jeans. So all I wore was khakis. for a whole year. I didn't own a single pair of jeans. Like
Wow.
that's and
Interesting.
this is stupid. These are dumb behaviors because it's hot outside and putting on shorts and being like, "Oh, I get to wear shorts now." I was denying myself that pleasure of like the changing season because somehow I got it in my brain that it didn't look cool to wear shorts. Somebody probably said something about me having chicken legs or something like that, and I probably took it way too seriously and cared way too much about what they thought, and so was like trying to hide the fact that I was incredibly skinny.
Right.
I don't think I was fooling anybody, but now I'm like it was stupid. I was a stupid teenager. Like I just want to go back in time, smack myself in the face. But so people do it all the time, and when you catch yourself doing it, I think you just need to let go of it and just have fun, just enjoy. But I get like for your dad, it's probably doing that puzzle.
Yeah.
Which like I look at it and I'm like,
And his garden. Yeah.
what are you gonna like? Yeah, garden. That's a great example of something that like I look at and I go like, nope.
Yeah. But my dad loves
That's
it,
dirt.
man. I mean,
That's dirt
like,
your hands
and
are
he
covered
makes
in
it
right
just
now.
really cute. There's like a little pole out in the backyard with a little tag on it that says Paul, and because that's the specific like flower or whatever he got from his cousin, and so he just like has it labeled so he knows how it grows, and it's just really cute. So find what gives you joy and just like do that like without taking crap from nobody.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That sounds good. Speaking of not taking any crap, let's talk about this bit of news with AMC. So a couple weeks ago, when was this posted? April 28th. I'm pulling this stuff from an article on The Verge by Julia Alexander. So Universal made an announcement that they were gonna, or actually, sorry, no. The thing that the thing that spurned all of this was Universal announcing that Trolls World Tour made nearly $100 million in revenue through digital sales alone, and more than 5 million copies sold. Which, when we look at the numbers of that, it actually it indicates that Trolls World Tour did better being released digitally than it would have had it been released traditionally in theaters, the way that it was supposed to be. It ended up pulling in revenue way ahead of what it was tracking, and way more people saw it because 5 million copies sold. If you consider the average family being 3 or 4 people,
Right. Yeah.
like you're multiplying 5 million by 4. Mm-hmm. So you're talking about 20. Like that's a great opening. That's a phenomenal opening. And when you translate that to individual ticket sales, like it in terms of like engagement and reach, it's a way better opening than they could have hoped for a sequel to a movie that did kind of okay when it opened.
Yeah.
Because Trolls was fine. It had a good opening. It's a kids movie, which they tend to be pretty safe. But it's not like it set the world on fire. It's not Frozen or Toy Story, right? Or even like the Lego movie or something like that, right? Like it did good, and it's a good movie. They're both good movies, but like it destroyed. And it was the experiment. It was the like, let's see if this is gonna work. And this is something that the studios have been toying with. And something that theater owners, I think, have been worried about for probably the last 5 or 6 years, as digital distribution methods have become more and more prevalent and easier to use and access. And it was just there, like, I think the world was just kind of waiting for an excuse to shift over to this model. I've been talking about
this for so long. I've been talking about this for eons, I feel like, on a couple podcasts already. So Universal makes this announcement, and in a very positive way, they're like, "Hey, this is awesome," and like good on Universal. They took a risk and they released their movie this way, not knowing if it was going to pan out for them or if it was going to end up costing them money.
being, I think, fairly confident when they did it that this was going to be a net win for them. But yeah, like they have shareholders, and they absolutely have every right to come out and tell their shareholders, hey, that thing we just gambled on paid off pretty well. We
Yeah.
might want to look at this in the future.
Yeah.
And as a result, a bunch of different stuff has basically moved to VOD. The most notable release coming up is actually next week. WB is going to be releasing Scoob, which is the Scooby-Doo prequel animated movie that was set to come out in theaters and is instead going to be I think they call it home premiere now, home premiere or something like that. And hey, like we were there day one for Trolls World Tour, and we're going to be there day one for Scoob, because I wanted to see that movie anyways. I wanted to see both of these movies anyways. So like, yeah, let's watch them at home and make a night of it and have some popcorn and whatever.
And it's so like people are, the audience is there. Like that's what capitalism is.
Exactly. So Universal has basically fired the first shot in this. If it was even a shot, they just kind of fired a shot into the air at no one in particular. They were just Yosemite Sam excited about their success and went, "Hey, look at us!" And what's his name? Adam Aaron, who is the chair CEO of AMC Theaters, which is a major chain in the U.S., Europe, and the Middle East, came out and said, this is so good, it is disappointing to us, but Jeff's comments as to Universal's unilateral actions and intentions have left us with no choice. Therefore, effective immediately, AMC will no longer play any Universal movies in any of our theaters in the United States, Europe, or the Middle East. I'm going to pause there in the quote, because this is a totally empty threat. Their theaters are all closed right now. Yeah, you're like, you can't come eat in my restaurant. I don't like the way you look. Well, I don't care, because your restaurant's not open to the public right now. So say whatever you want. It doesn't matter. And like, this is such a weird reaction, because Jeff Shell, who is the one who came out and he's the NBC Universal CEO, who like kind of made these announcements. He said, like, as soon as theaters reopen, we expect to release movies on both formats. Yeah, right?
Like,
which is like it's like, let's give the consumers the choice, right? Yeah. Like that is threatening, but not a threat to AMC, I would say, as opposed to what AMC has fired back with. He continues, this policy affects any and all Universal movies per se, goes into effect today, and as our theaters reopen, and is not some hollow or ill-considered threat. Incidentally, this policy is not aimed solely at Universal out of pique or to be punitive in any way. It also extends to any movie maker who unilaterally abandons current windowing practices absent good faith negotiations between us, so that they as distributor and we as exhibitor both benefit and neither are hurt from such changes. Here's the thing. What was his name again? Something Aaron. Adam Aaron. Adam, buddy, NBC Universal didn't say they were doing something. They said they expect to release movies on both formats. Yeah. That means that they haven't made decisions. It means that they're definitely leaning in a direction, which means that it's not time to like start, leveling your musket at them and making threats. It's time to call up NBC Universal and say, hey guys, if you're going to go through with this, let's figure out how this works for everybody. Which is how all of the other movie theater chains reacted. I guarantee, right. Because nobody else came out and lost it in the way that AMC did. And the reaction from everybody online, I thought that this was going to be like a very two-sided argument and people would be fighting about it. What I saw in the days after this was everybody being like, wow, AMC's dumb. We actually want this. We want the choice.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest things is, and it's in this article, it's like this is totally hollow because there is no way that AMC is going to miss out on Fast and Furious 9 when it comes out next April.
Yeah.
Because that movie's going to make all the money and everybody's going to want to go to a theater to see it, right? Like, granted, if I had the option to see that, because it was supposed to come out on my birthday this year, or the weekend of my birthday, and it was one of the things I was going to do that weekend. If I had the option to see that at home, I probably would, but I have a big TV, right? Like, I have it's not like a crazy setup, but I have a good enough setup that I feel like I can watch a big movie and enjoy it. And in fact, sometimes I kind of prefer it. Like watching Rise of Skywalker on my TV was much better than watching it in the theater because I could actually see what was happening.
Interesting. Yeah, fair.
And it's like watching Endgame. Endgame's different. Endgame had like a communal experience that was a big part of it that I wouldn't have wanted to miss. And F9 is the same because F9 is going to be about like what stupid crazy thing are they going to do in this movie? Because they already showed us in the trailer when he uses the chain and like swings the car. Oh, and it's like this. It's so stupid and awesome, and I love it.
I love it.
If that's what they're showing us in the trailer, then what are they holding back, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, like I want to see that in the theater for sure. Like that's a spectacle thing. But yeah, like given the opportunity to see these movies in the theater, I'm gonna if I have to choose, if I'm gonna pick one or the other, I am gonna pick the theater for a lot of movies, for Marvel movies, for Fast and Furious movies, for actually even a lot of animated stuff. I'm gonna choose to go see it in the theater, and I think that that's how most people feel.
There's a thing, as somebody who studied theater for like much of my undergraduate degree, right? There are still theaters that exist. Theater is a 2,000-year-old or 3,000, right? Like it's been around for thousands of years, and there's still people that like it, right? Like you can do VR or you can go watch theater. Like they're not exclusive of one another. They're just like different mediums and like how you consume art. And so I am always just very conscious of that when you're talking about like give the people what they want, right?
Yeah.
Just let me buy.
Here's one of the things that's like the alternative to the way that AMC reacted. Cineplex, which is a chain that's in Canada. I think it's in Canada and Europe.
They don't have Cineplex in the U.S.?
I don't think Cineplex is in the U.S. No.
Whoa.
So Cineplex used to be two different companies. Famous Players was a Canadian company, and then Cineplex Odeon, which I think Cineplex Odeon was in the States. But I think that Cineplex Odeon, the U.S. arm of it, closed. And soon after that, Cineplex Odeon bought Famous Players. And so up here we have Cineplex and we have Landmark. Those are kind of the two big chains. So Cineplex, obviously hurting in the midst of all of this, because people aren't going. Their theaters are just shut. Like I live 5 minutes away from a movie theater, and every time I drive past it, it's so depressing. It is one of the things that upsets me the most about the world that we're living in right now. Because I drive past it and it's just dark and vacant, right? Yeah. Which just it kills me because I love going to the movies. Obviously, I think you guys all know that at this point. But they, in the last few years, as streaming and digital and all of that have become way more popular, and in fact more popular than going to the movies, Cineplex as a company has pivoted and started putting the VIP experiences into their theaters, where you go and it's adults only. It's a higher ticket price. You can get alcohol. and
I love
an
VIP.
actual meal. It's not a good meal,
Yeah.
but it's an actual meal. And they bring it right to you just sit there and they come and they wait on you, and then they bring it to your seat, and it's a whole, like, it's a VIP experience, right?
Yeah.
And I think that that's been pretty successful for them, and that's definitely a pivot to protect them from a changing landscape, right? In the midst of the quarantine and everybody staying home, they are very heavily promoting their digital streaming platform, where you can rent videos and rent movies and whatnot. Rent videos. I'm dating myself, making myself sound old. It's like going to Blockbuster. And they've actually put out an offer now where you can get, it's like you get this bundle thing, and they deliver popcorn, and candy like you would get at the movie theater, like literally the movie theater popcorn, and you get a code for a movie rental, and it's like $40 or something, 40 or $50 or something like that, and it's like you get a bunch of popcorn, you get a bunch of candy, you get big drinks, and it's like it's the whole movie theater experience. It's the thing that they're actually making money off of, which is the concessions. And they're using Uber Eats or DoorDash or something like that to deliver it to you. And that's like, I think I talked about it a couple of weeks ago. It's that infinite mindset versus the finite mindset. And AMC is looking at this as finite, as like the world that they have functioned in is falling away and they're about to lose that, rather than looking at the infinite mindset of like, the world is changing, and if we want to maintain a position in social relevance, really, what do we have to do? Like, how can we innovate? What can we think of? Because look, I bought a box of Orville Redenbacher microwave popcorn, and the Redenbacher is definitely the best that you can get when it comes to microwave popcorn, but it does not come close to movie theater popcorn, right? Like, it's not even in the same ballpark. So we watched Captain America on Saturday, and we made popcorn, and it was fine, and everybody was happy with it. But then I learned about this, and I'm like, oh man, we should get movie theater popcorn next time, because movie theater popcorn is the best popcorn that you can get. So, like, it seems so silly and childish to make to put out a press release that has to state in it that it's not a hollow or ill-conceived threat. And it's like, it's one of those the lady doth protest too much moments, of like, look, guy, if you have to say it, then it was. You done goofed, bud. But yeah, I don't know. Do you have anything else to say? I talked a lot.
You did. I mean, you're very passionate about it. So I've already, I feel like, on the Thunderquack podcast talked many times about how I think that if the technology exists, you should meet consumers where they are. It's one of the few advantages of capitalism, right? Yeah. Is that, like, I get to, if I can pay you for it, I should be able to do it. Having to wait, and like the windows for like viewing and all this stuff is crazy. But also on the other side of that I'm dealing with a brave new world this year for film festivals, and like how you think about movie, like windows of release, and how things become, like, if they're exclusive and in what market and all that jazz, because film festivals have to do this very sort of precarious dance where they're like, okay, well, we'll stream it, it'll only be available to like people that buy this like code and all this stuff, and like I hope that people like meet this where it's supposed to be and like understand, and like, for example, like the CSAs or like the Geminis in Canada, which is like what, like the Canadian version. It's like the film awards basically in Canada, like the Academy Awards, academy.ca. But that like their qualifications for like short films are that you get awards in these certain festivals, right? And it's like, well, you have to be told that you like got into the best of or something like that. And it's like, well, I really hope that people like honor stuff like this over the course of the year, that even though these festivals are going digital, that it doesn't compromise what like at the core is like the spirit of these festivals, right? That it's getting it out to an audience and all this stuff.
Well,
right?
it's like the Academy Awards, which, like, in order to be nominated for an Academy Award, your movie has to have had a run. I think it's a 2-week run in theaters.
7 days.
Is it 7 days?
I think so. Yeah. So it really over the course of 2 weeks though, because you usually don't have it like every single day necessarily.
So
but it's such an arbitrary. It's why the long list at the Academy Awards means jack garbage when it comes to like short films, because a short film can get into the Academy Awards as a nominee just by like paying enough money to put your film in front of a feature or at these like short film like screenings in LA. And it's such a weird, arbitrary thing. And I know that they're looking to like see like how stuff is qualified, because that's part of the consideration now too with all these streaming platforms, that if you have your awards platform just exclusive to how it works with theaters, you're doing yourself a disservice, because you're eliminating a lot of really like top tier talent and like consumer content that is quite extraordinary.
One of the funny effects of it is that say between now and the end of the eligibility period for the 2021 Academy Awards, we don't go back to normal. Movie theaters don't open back up. Right. Then the last couple of movies that came out, the last two big releases were Birds of Prey and Sonic the Hedgehog.
Right.
So
Academy, here we go.
Yeah, that's it. There's a world where the Academy has to make a decision of like, do we have to nominate these two films for Best Picture, or do we just not have a Best Picture category? And like here's the thing: Sonic the Hedgehog doesn't deserve to be nominated for Best Picture. Birds of Prey, you could make a case. Birds of Prey is a fantastic movie. You guys heard us talk about it.
I can't wait for it to come out on digital.
It is. It's out on digital. You can get it now.
It?
Yeah. It's been out on digital for like a month, Amanda.
Has it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because they were like, hey, we had a pretty good opening,
right.
but not the greatest. The press tried to make it, the media tried to make it sound like it was an awful opening. But I think, Warner Brothers was like, do you guys want to watch this movie? Does anybody, you guys are all stuck at home. Does anybody want to see a movie that they didn't see in the theater? Because not enough of you went. And they released it, and then a bunch of people saw it, and there was like 2 weeks there where everybody was like, hey, how come nobody told me that Birds of Prey was so good? And then all of us who saw it were like, we did. We screamed at you at the top of our lungs, this movie is awesome, go support it, because it's an actual movie about actual women from a female perspective. Anyways, about superheroes. Watch Birds of Prey if you haven't watched Birds of Prey. Such a good movie. You can own it. You don't even have to just rent it. You can buy it now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really look forward to the 2021 Academy Awards where Sonic the Hedgehog is nominated for an Academy Award, because I love that movie. I thought they did a great job. I think there's a lot of movies that'll come out that'll be like shoo-ins for the Academy Awards, in the way that like 1917 came out right at the end of the eligibility window and then was nominated for like everything and won for I think it won for special effects or something like that, and it's like over Endgame and Rise of Skywalker, and it's like, nope, that's not right. That doesn't make sense.
Well, but the biggest thing, it's already happening now, where people are saying the biggest gap is coming up in the next 2 months. Mm-hmm. People plan what goes into theaters because of the Cannes film market. Yep. And the Cannes film market isn't happening this year. Yep. And so it's going to change the landscape of worldwide cinema for the whole year. There are so many films that are on the back burner, and even us doing short films. I was at the end of finishing up a couple short films where if we just postponed enough, we could maybe qualify for next year's festival run. So you got to imagine the amount of feature films that are like, why on earth would we come out this year when there's no opportunities for market collaboration and all this, when you could wait a year and get it. So it's going to be a very, very interesting year in terms of like film and what gets recognized, and us realizing how arbitrary recognition ceremonies are for film anyways.
I think that's the biggest, I think that'll be the biggest takeaway is the people who do choose to take the risk and try and put their stuff out there in front of an audience without something like Cannes, or any of the other major festivals, and end up with a success story. It's going to be like, oh, do we really need those things? Because you did back in the day when it cost a lot of money to get reels printed and sent out and distributed across the country, right?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
like that there's a logistical and real world cost to physical film, right?
Yeah.
But we don't live in a world of physical film anymore. We live in a world of ones and O's that can be transmitted over the airwaves, right? Like you can shoot it into outer space and shoot it back down somewhere else. And so like it's not a matter of getting physical media printed and distributed the old way. It's a matter of access to airwaves essentially, and then eyeballs on streaming platforms. So Amazon or Netflix could very easily decide in 3 months they're going to do their own film festivals. And for a week, you're going to be able to access all these different things. And it's a limited run. And here's all of these different things that are part of the film festival. And here you go. Right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
honestly, what has the potential to get you in front of the right person more?
Right.
A very insular, cliquey film festival that you have to travel to another country to even participate in, or something that you can do from your couch. There's a reason why the Academy sends out screeners before the Academy Awards, right? And it's because even the people who are in the industry don't necessarily have time to go out and see all the movies. But if we're all stuck at home, we're all sitting on our couches looking for something to do, then here you go. Yeah, I mean, if you guys were given the opportunity to put your short in a film festival streaming on Netflix, like,
Oh yeah.
you would do it in a heartbeat.
Like, yeah. Oh,
It's
yeah.
not even a question, right? Like, I don't even have to pose it as a question. You would do that. And it's just a matter of whether or not Netflix cares enough to do that, or whether or not they want to continue
Exactly. They
just
have
promoting their own
thing.
content.
Yeah. And I will say that there's more platforms that are probably better suited to doing that, like something like South by Southwest.
Yep.
Like a big name festival creating a hub. Like much like the Sundance Institute exists as this like full year-round thing, not just the Sundance Film Festival. There are certain festivals that are better set up to start like becoming a hub for like curating festival content.
Yeah.
And I do think that there is a future for that. The one thing I will say is, as a I love conventions and festivals and just the experience of sitting there and being on a panel and like listening to what people have to say and like the feedback and the networking. This is another one of those non-binary situations. Just because you create an alternative in a time of crisis doesn't mean it's going to negate us going back to like physical film festivals when the opportunity presents itself, because there is just something that is so tangible about it that doesn't exist and can't be replaced. But in the meantime, find a way to replace it, and maybe people will choose that option going forward. Like,
if the original thing has inherent value, it's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Because when we're like concerts, right? Yeah. When we're able to go back to live concerts, people who love live concerts are going to go to live concerts. Yeah. Just because there are artists doing streaming things right now, or just like putting videos on YouTube or whatever, right? That is not a threat to the idea of a live concert. It's just another way to make revenue. It's just another stream. And I think that like there's a mix of people out there, but I think that the majority of smart business people are realizing this, that or already knew it. Like, they're not realizing it as if, we're somehow ahead of their curve. Like, they know this stuff already. It's just been, I think it's really hard to break down established systems. And human beings just love to categorize. It's one of the things that makes us as successful a species as we are. So it's why we can see in color, right? Like, it's the whole reason why we can see in color, is so that we can tell dangerous fruit from safe fruit. And like, that's the whole point. So we like putting things in buckets, and that translates in a modern age to prestige, right? It translates to well, my short was at the Cannes Film Festival. Was yours, right? Like that's human beings love that stuff. We salivate over it, and we really love to rub it in other people's faces. So breaking away from that system is really difficult because there are people who benefit on both ends of that. There are the people who run the film festival who get the prestige off of running the film festival and being the tastemakers, and then there are the people who get chosen who are going to support that as well. But like all things that eventually go digital, there is a great opportunity to democratize that system. And that's, if anybody's going to feel threatened, that's probably what they're going to feel threatened by. But at the same time, those hoity-toity individuals who want to have those titles and have those laureates on their DVD package and whatnot, like,
dude, I'm one of those people.
I get it because when you're in a system that promotes it,
exactly.
You're in a system that promotes it. Look, hey, I want the podcast to be on the front page of iTunes.
Right.
We're never going to be, but that's a level of prestige, right? Like it means something, and if you're in that, it means something. But it doesn't change the fact that these are systems that really just kind of keep us pinned down to where we are and stop us from being able to do things like innovate. So, if something comes along and can break that, then I think people end up benefiting in the long run. But I think that's enough of that. Let's take a quick break for some ads, and then we're going to come back and, as I said, watch the first 47 minutes of Avengers Endgame.
47 minutes left.
Cool. All right, here we go. This is the first part of our Avengers Endgame watch-along commentary, whatever you want to call it. We're kind of branding it as watch-alongs because it's not really commentary, because I don't think that we're really adding anything to it. We're just watching it with you. This is just what it would be like to be in the room with us.
And heckling. We're just heckling as we go.
Well, we'll heckle this a heck of a lot less than we did.
That's true. It's true.
With Rise of Skywalker, I had nits to pick on that one.
Yes. The thing is, and I will say that people often say that the worst part about going to the movies with me is that I talk a lot, but I think that that's like the purpose of going to the movies, is to like have somebody that you can like comment along with. And I do say we're pretty good about like time and place, but some of my best like times at the movies have been with you, where we've just like, there's just stuff to say sometimes that you just want to like say as you're watching the movie.
Well, when we were at Rise of Skywalker on opening night, and it gets to the moment at the end of the movie. Did I talk about this on the watch along? Maybe I did.
I don't know. I don't think. Maybe you
at
did.
the end of the movie when Chewie sees Maz and she's like, "Hey, Chewie, over here," and I said to myself, because I thought. The getting the medal was like not on my radar, right? Like that was such a, I personally feel like it's a weird moment, but I thought that she was gonna like give him a kiss on the cheek or something, because of the comment in the first one where she goes, "Where's my boyfriend?" Right?
Right.
So like I thought that's what we were gonna get, and so I said to myself, but loud enough so that anybody sitting right nearby, like Crystal and then I think you were like a couple seats down, could hear me say, "Now kiss him," right? And the woman sitting next to me on the other side of me was like, "Excuse me, could you not talk?" I was like, "Okay, well, I'm just trying to enjoy a Star Wars so soon." I would say that you talk an appropriate amount during the appropriate kinds of movies.
Have we talked about this before? Because it'll be forever my like moment where I know that you and I are like movie watching like besties. Is that like when we went to watch Sherlock? What was it? It was the first Sherlock or the second Sherlock, where there was a joke that we both laughed audibly at and nobody else in the theater was laughing at it. And I just remember us being like, "Why is nobody laughing at this joke?" It was
Yeah.
really funny.
That's
'Cause
like
it was
when
like this like
yeah.
yeah.
It-
Anyways, I don't know.
in Solo, there's you know the moment when they're infiltrating the mine on Kessel,
Yeah.
and she
yeah.
goes into the room and they lock the door and then she beats the crap out of him and then comes out and
Yeah.
and whoever I don't know if it's the droid, if it's L3 or if it's somebody else, is like, what was that? And she goes and she says it's Teräs Käsi. That was a joke for one person in every theater who saw that movie, and I was the one guy, and I like lost it. Like I was like, "Are you kidding me?" They just referenced Masters of the Teräs Käsi, like, which is an old PlayStation 1 video game that nobody played because it was awful. And everybody who did play it tried to forget it immediately, unless you are me, and it's like locked in there forever. So, like, yeah, it's stuff like that. It was probably a joke like that.
There you go.
For sure.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that happens. I can't. There's another one in a like pretty major movie that like I can remember being in the theater and like it happened and I laughed and like literally nobody else in the theater laughed and I was like, cool, I'm watching a different movie from you guys.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we do tend to be, I think, pretty in sync on a lot of that stuff. Okay. Speaking of being in sync,
Ooh.
it's gonna be May. It already is May, but good old Justin Timberlake. He was good old Justin Timberlake until I found out that his wife is an anti-vaxxer, and then I was like,
I didn't know that.
yeah, no good, no bueno. Vaccinate your kids, vaccinate your pets, vaccinate your furniture. I don't know. It's not like it can't hurt.
I mean, it can't hurt.
It's not. But look, when it turns out that your furniture can get COVID-19, you're gonna be glad you gave it the vaccine.
Maybe don't spread misinformation on our podcast.
Yes, good idea. You cannot. Your furniture.
Your furniture cannot be cured of coronavirus.
Our present understanding of science and COVID-19 says that your furniture cannot get the virus. It can transmit it though, because if you sneeze on it and then somebody touches it. Let's
in a certain amount of time.
Watch Avengers Endgame. We're watching on Disney Plus. We've got it queued up to 0000000 because this is the beginning of the movie. So why would you queue it to a different spot? And we are going to hit play. I'm gonna again 3, 2, 1, and then hit play. Okay.
Cool.
So play is the silent 0.
Okay. I love it. I can do that. Okay.
Okay. Here we go. Everybody ready?
Okay.
You guys ready at home? Okay.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, play.
Beauty. 2, 3, 4, 5. Are we synced? Is that what you're counting down to?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Oh man, what a powerful way to open this movie, hey?
Right.
It's so good. I gotta turn my subtitles on. I always forget.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot that they all already happened in the Infinity War.
They already dusted?
They already dusted. I forgot about that. Maybe I should rewatch.
Whoa. Disney
Infinity
Plus the subtitle settings let you go in and on the website, at least, they let you go in and change the way that the subtitles look. You can pick a font, you can pick colors, you can pick the font size. You can outline oh my goodness. I love you, Disney Plus. Whatever designer put that in there is a beautiful human being, and I would kiss them on the mouth if it wasn't super dangerous right now.
Now, I do have a question. In me going to check for my subtitles, because you just got me excited about it, am I at a different place than you, or did it keep playing? Because it's still going.
Oh, mine kept playing. Yeah,
enough practice soups on? Barton, all right, we're coming, we're hungry? That's where you're at?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Just checking, because I got excited.
So one of the things I'll note, for maybe people who aren't as eagle-eyed, you could see the dust of Lila drifting off in the wind when the shot reversed, and when it reverses over here, can you see it here? Yeah, you can see it just settling next to the bench,
vaguely, yeah.
next to the picnic bench.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
man, Jeremy Renner, you can still see it settling.
Oh.
That's his wife and his sons.
Right. He's so good.
Jeremy Renner's a fantastic actor.
Yeah.
He's so underrated.
And I do like that, like, people got their day a little bit with, like, everybody that was really upset that Hawkeye wasn't in the Infinity War, that, like, to open with him, it does make a lot of sense to give it a little bit of due, to be like, this is why he wasn't in the first one. He's boring.
God.
He's at home with his family.
What a different experience watching this is to watching Rise of Skywalker with you, because, like, I am so happy right now. It's 10:30 at night and we have just started, and I'm full of energy. Like, I'm like, let's do this. Like, let's go. Yeah. This music starts and I'm just like, the Marvel Studios logo, all of it. I just get such visceral good vibes from it.
Yeah. So good. Oh, I forgot that I could probably be watching it with a little bit of sound.
Yeah, because you got headphones in.
Why did I do that? Because I got headphones in. Oh, yay. I forgot that that's how we did that previously. I like Nebula. I didn't think I was going to.
This is one of the things about this movie and Infinity War to a certain degree as well that I think are such great things about the movies, is that, like, I didn't like Nebula in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. Not that I didn't want her there, but, like, I didn't like her because she's a villain, right?
Fair.
But the way that they turn her in Infinity War, and then especially in this one, and her arc, I think I tweeted it a little while ago when I was watching the movie, she has one of the best arcs in the MCU.
Yeah.
Like, where she starts and where she gets to in this movie and what she goes through in this film, and when she eventually at the end of the movie kills herself, the past version of herself, which is a very literal metaphor. And a very cathartic moment for her, like that. It's such a different character, but you believe it and you feel it. They did such a good job, to the point that, like, she's actually one of my favorite characters in this movie. I just love her whole turn in this. I mean, obviously I love Tony's story.
Yeah, but the thing is too, I have a very, like, soft spot for Karen Gillan as well. And when I found out that she was Nebula, I, like, just didn't see it. I was like, ooh, what an interesting choice. And I just love that it's just like she does such a good job. So I'm stoked all around. The casting, I don't know if you watched, well, you probably did, but the little, like, documentary, the, like, casting the MCU or making the MCU or something like that, where it's, like, just talking about, like, how they cast all these roles, and it's just, like, very interesting, where it's like, it takes, like, a certain, like, creative skill to make, like, the right actors in the right roles. It really makes a difference. So, this is sad. They're all out in space.
I love the way that this opening sets up. Are they going to kill Tony Stark in the first 15 minutes of this movie? Right. Like, it's so genius. And if you've got access to the commentary track for this movie, I can't recommend it highly enough. Listening to the Russos and the writers, oh man, what are their names? McFeely and something else.
I couldn't answer if you paid me. I couldn't tell you paid
listening
money.
to them talk about it and talk about how they wrote this story. They also do the commentary on Infinity War, and listening to both of those, it's like a film school course in screenwriting and like blocking, staging, framing, all of it. They're such geniuses, not just because of what they do and how they execute, but in their ability to articulate it. And I think it's one of the biggest successes of the Russos is that they do have, especially Joe, has the ability to articulate what he's doing and what his goal is. And that as a leader, because as directors, that's essentially what you are. You're the captain of the ship. The ability to give out those directives get everybody on the same page, as long as you've hired the right people, you're going to end up with something very close to your original vision, and hopefully better, because those people will bring things that you didn't consider. But the ability to clearly communicate that is I think one of their biggest keys to success. And listening to them talk about how this whole scene, him eulogizing into the helmet at the beginning of the movie, and then here we think the music is doing it, and this is the same music that plays over the funeral at the end. Like, all of it is telling us Tony Stark's about to die.
Right.
Like, he is at death's door, very literally. And then you cue this moment where it's so subtle at first. It's just changing by the most minute amount. It kind of starts on his neck and then goes up his face. And you see this light. And it just so perfectly sets up the end of the movie. And I think it starts to emotionally prepare you for what's coming. Although nothing can prepare me for the end of this movie. It's going to be really interesting to be doing a commentary. Because there hasn't been a time that I've watched this movie where it hasn't broken me at the end. So, yeah. It's
I don't have the same reverence for Tony
I know
Stark,
you don't.
But it's good. Like, he's cool. Like, and I am excited to rewatch Iron Man and stuff. So
yeah.
But I will say something that like this movie does that's quite good, or like the series in general, is Gwyneth Paltrow's not one of my favorite people.
Yeah.
But she is okay as Pepper Potts.
Yeah.
Like, I will give her that. Like I quite enjoy like how she does. Oh my God, I love Chris Evans so much. Just
Isn't
like
he the
after watching
best?
Captain America as well, he's just like so great. And
Watching
he's
Captain America on the weekend. For those who don't know, if you're not in the Facebook group, which you can get access to at patreon.com/thunderquack, I posted that I'm doing a chronological rewatch with Crystal and Kara and Cassie tangentially because she's there for some of it. And we started with Captain America because it's the earliest story. So we just watched that this weekend, and seeing little baby Chris Evans in that movie, like little baby Captain America.
Yeah, he's
and I don't even just mean when he's like pre-Captain America, but like when he's Captain America,
also when
he's so young.
He's like so young, yeah.
And it's adorable.
This is a good moment though. Like I couldn't like I just I just Captain and it's just I love both of them so much, and like. And with Thor and it's all so good. I just love so much about this movie. But also, I like Captain America and Superman very much similarly. And I was thinking about this the other day, that like Henry Cavill and Chris Evans both have like a similar like disposition as humans as well as characters. And I just really like that they like become these sort of beacons, not only like in the roles that they play, but also like as being awesome people. So it's kind of cool. Anyways, the whole first half of this movie though is a little bit of a bummer.
A little bit until Scott shows up. When Scott shows up, it'll pick up a little bit. Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely are the writers, along with everybody else. I love the long list of credits under the writing credits on IMDb for this, because you've got Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, Joe Simon, Steve Englehart, Steve Gann, Bill Mantlo, Keith Giffen, Jim Starlin, who is a legend, Larry Lieber, and Don Heck. Like, these are all comic book writers who created characters, so they all get credit for creating the characters that are in this. It's awesome.
Yeah. Tony's just so angry in the beginning of this movie. Like,
but it starts quiet.
Yeah.
It starts with such a quiet anger, quiet rage.
Yeah. Yeah. But it really is, and it's I hate to do this, but I'm going to, because I'm trying to find I want to meet you where you're at with Tony Stark, and I'm actually just starting to come to a realization that I think that a part of what happens to him in this movie is that he gets grounded a little bit by Pepper and by the life that she like helps him create, and it allows him to be the hero that he becomes at the end, right? And I always think that that's quite like powerful, like when you can have these heroes that have a lot of like rage or power
Well,
or like the ability to turn one way or another, and
Yeah.
like they find a little bit of center in their relationships and in who it is that they care about and what it is that they try to protect.
Yeah.
And I do think that a lot of that comes with like Pepper and Morgan, right?
Tony in the other films doesn't really have anything to lose, right? He's got this debt that he feels because of his father's company and all of everything that's the motivation in the first movie, right? He carries that with him through everything else. And he feels responsible for a lot of the negativity in the world and a lot of the war and destruction and that sort of thing. And he carries that into Age of Ultron, into Infinity War and all that. And it's not until, I don't think, until he has a child, until Morgan is around, that he starts to realize, like what he's been doing was reckless. That because Pepper's an adult, she'd be upset, but she could handle it if he died as Iron Man, right?
Right.
But a 5-year-old can't process that in the same way, right? So going into it, like he actually has something real to lose, and I think that that's the difference in this movie with his character. It is one of the things that I connect with in this movie, and I already connected with Tony Stark previously, but it definitely digs in when you get into the father-daughter stuff. It's very, very #relatable for me.
This is just another example of like how Nebula became so integral. Like, I don't know necessarily when they cast her or when they created the character that they thought that she would be this, like, that she would be able to be brought into like the threshold of like the Avengers and like
I mean, because of the backstory of the character in the comics, I think that like there's always the possibility of it, but it depends on where they want to go with it, right? Because some characters show up in one movie and then we never see them again, right? Others get these lives that I don't think that you could have imagined when they were first introduced in the MCU, right? And Nebula is definitely one of them.
Oh, I like this.
The Captain America, Captain Marvel nod to each other. It's too good.
I just like it's like this, But also, I forget. I really do need to rewatch the Infinity War. But that like this first half of this movie is very much a widow of the last movie, and the movie doesn't really start until
this is the epilogue for sure. For sure. Everything up until the title card is the epilogue of Infinity War, because this is all just like Infinity War happened and then she showed up and then Tony like rescued Tony, and now they're gonna go get revenge on Thanos.
I love Thor's journey in this episode too, or in this movie. Like that only Chris Hemsworth could really pull it off, right? And I mean, you say that about a lot of them, right? But like that.
Oh God, that music is so good,
right? It's so good. Yeah, it is. It does have a really good like, let's do it.
It's Alan Silvestri is a genius.
Yeah, but that when you're looking at what was I saying? I forgot. Oh no. Anyways,
arcs. You were talking about arcs. You were talking about Thor.
Oh yeah, that like his willingness to sort of just go to a place that he hasn't really gone as an actor before, and that it suits the character so well. Like it just is like, it adds a little bit of levity and fun to something that also has a lot of gravitas. Like there's very serious things that he deals with, but the fact that they can do it in a way that is like, that makes sense. By the way, I love the in-world like hyperspace stuff, like the jumps, like how jumps work and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's cool. I like it. Anyways, I'm just gonna like watch the like. Sometimes I'm just gonna drift into watching the movie. I apologize if that winds up happening.
No, that's fine.
Oh, that's why I watched the end of this movie, because I watched Captain America and then I really wanted to watch the end of this movie because I know how this movie ends, and it really is just a bookend to Captain's story. Like, and that because. For you watch it through the Tony Stark lens, and I watch it through the Cap lens. Totally, like when I think about the story. So that's why I wanted to watch those both, because I think that they're just such a perfect like arc to the films.
I love that. It's just him, and that's enough.
So dramatic. I would totally live here It is so peaceful. I don't know if I would eat these weird like egg, those like whatever he goes to pick that he makes
It's
soup
just a
out of. Like,
fruit.
what is this? Is it a fruit or is it savory? Because he makes it into a soup. So I'm very curious, like what kind of a plant it is. Like if it's maybe not a fruit but a vegetable.
It looks an awful lot like a fruit.
I know, right? It looks like a fruit, but why does he make it into a soup? That is my biggest question.
I don't think he's got a lot of options. It's not a sophisticated kitchen he's got going on there.
It's true. Maybe he's making something different than what he picked. I don't know. But I feel like it might be a.
Maybe it's in there in chunks. Maybe the broth is something else.
Yeah.
Is this really the most important thing we should be talking about right now?
I mean, it's not, but we can now talk about how Thanos is going to get his butt kicked. But also that like how like burned up and stuff he is, and just like that you're like that.
Well, this is it's done so well because it's so unsatisfying.
Yeah.
Because he's clear, like we know as an audience immediately he's not at full power. He's limping up there. You're like, they're picking on him. He's already lost.
Yeah.
They just don't know it yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's the reveal the stones are gone. Yeah.
Uh-oh. Where'd they go? Uh-oh.
What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
Sorry, I had to cough. Well, poor Thor, he just gets so upset. Thanos is the best kind of villain because he just like
fantastic.
It's just like with like his conviction and his like that is one of the things that just makes certain like villains so like scary, right? That there's nothing that's going to convince him otherwise, right? And so that's what makes him so dangerous. It's not even necessarily like how powerful he is or like his like anyways, I don't know. But like this version of you are inevitable, boo. Anyway, sorry.
If you like Thanos, I recommend it all the time, but I can't recommend enough watching the Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels, because Darth Maul, he becomes a character very much like Thanos. He doesn't quite have the control that Thanos does because he's not very successful, but so that's that moment like when he chops his head off. It's so unsatisfying. It's so abrupt. And his response,
it's supposed to be, right? It's supposed to be so unsatisfying, but also that Nebula got what she wanted. Like, this is so important. You've now triggered me on this, talking about Nebula having one of the most important story arcs, because this is such an important thing for her, that all she wanted was her father's like sort of approval, and the fact that it really just doesn't matter in the end. Like, where like he's like, oh, like, you get me, daughter, and she's like, what is that worth, right? Like, it's like, what is that worth that I've come all this way? And anyways, it's
this
so
slow blur, like the slow Gaussian blur to just that snap to black, and then slow 5 years later,
and that it scrolls in really slowly, like the 5 years, like it's just so
slow. It really gives you time to like savor it. And then the color tone has changed. Everything is different. It's a different world. These shots are so good. We're living in this world right now, but
I know that is something that I'm like really freaked out. Where I'm kind of like watching this, where you're like, oh man, it's hitting very close to home. Like this idea of like, what do you do when a world changes? And it's, I don't know. Hey, is this somebody famous? Is this a cameo by somebody that
this is Joe Russo? This is one of the directors.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's what I thought. So, anyways. Is Joe Russo gay?
No.
Okay.
He is married and has several children with his wife.
Okay.
Right. No, he's just playing a character.
Yeah. Well, fucking. I just thought I would ask.
And then, oh man, who is that? I can't. It's not in my brain right now. That guy who asks them the question is the guy who wrote Infinity War.
Okay. Cool.
Or created the character Thanos. I can't. Let me find him.
It's somebody
in IMDb, and then double check my facts on that.
Yeah.
Hey, remember that Jon Favreau is in this movie, even though he's a director.
Right? I know.
Because he's also an actor.
I love that. Because Jon Favreau is Jon Favreau. Remember when he was on Friends as Monica's like UFC fighter boyfriend?
Yeah. Hey, remember that Vin Diesel and Bradley Cooper are in this movie?
Oh yeah.
I always forget.
My greatest trivia bit that I just think is so cool is that Vin Diesel did the voiceover for Groot for all of the territories, and I just think that is so cool.
In every
Vin
language,
Diesel is in every language as Groot, and I just think that is so fun. Like, what a cool, fun thing that he didn't have to do, but it's just like, it means that he gets to be in every single version of this movie, and I just think that that's fun. So, anyways.
Imagine being the kid that got to be 12-year-old Scott Lang. In that scene.
Oh yeah.
You're in like 2 seconds of it, but you are in one of the biggest movies of all time.
Oh yeah. Yeah. This is such a weird like anomaly of like human how like life works, in that this random rat is the reason that they can save everybody, right?
This is the one. This is the one in 14 million.
1 in 14 million. It's the fact that a rat walked across at this particular moment.
As they say
released Scott
in the commentary, which I have watched multiple times, so I know this. That's the real hero of the MCU. That
is
rat.
The rat?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Without him, everybody stays dead.
Until we're just I didn't think about it until just as we're watching it now.
Sorry for gendering the rat. Without the rat, it's not a him.
Right.
It's not a her. We don't know. I'm not going to take that possibility away from you.
But that oh my gosh, that's so crazy. That's the 1 in 14 million. Yeah, fair. Yeah. If it had just walked a different way across the thing, right? This is my favorite cameo in the movie. Is
Chang?
What's his name? Senior Chang, yeah.
Senior Chang.
Something.
Oh man, table reads coming in a week. I'm so excited. That community table read. We're getting that movie. We're getting that movie. Right. Like there are so many reasons to believe that this is the darkest timeline. I totally understand that. That's totally understandable. That's the conclusion that you should draw at first glance. The quarantine is the reason why we're going to get the community movie, which means that just like that rat, it's the 1 in 14 million.
It's the one in 14 million.
We're in the timeline where we're going to get the community movie, and there's another timeline where they didn't get it. And it hasn't been announced or anything yet, but I just like with everything that's been happening, there's no way it's
you
not
can
coming.
Feel it coming. Yeah. They need to find a way to like make new content that people like care about. This is one of the most interesting things about this movie too, is the fact that Scott like understands that something's happened. He's seeing the names and that he's so worried about his daughter. But that realization, there's just something so visceral about realizing that they think that he's dead. Like to realize yourself that you are the one that is like, I just think that this is, he is, it did get interesting when Scott came back. Now I'm just like so interested.
Good. This is just this is a perfect 10 movie. This is on my list of perfect 10s. This is one of my favorite movies. Yeah. Like in my top 5 movies of all time. And I think that this is one of the best movies ever made.
Yeah. But this realization that he goes, oh my God, good. People think that I'm dead. Like, it's just such a mind trip for him, right? Like to like.
Paul Rudd's so good too. He's just.
Also, I love Paul Rudd. He's so good. Yeah.
He's such a good actor. What you're saying. This moment, I mean, like all of this. Again, this is another one that's gonna hit me hard, because this moment. It's all these fathers with their daughters. I can't avoid it. But her name is Cassie.
Oh yeah.
I would say it's informed by Cassie's name is definitely. This would be one of the things that put it in my head.
But as somebody who has a father and is a daughter, like there is just something like inexplicable. Like if you have good relationships with your parents,
this moment as he like because you see him realize it.
Yeah, and then he's like he realizes like what he missed out on and just like, aw.
It's so good. It's so good.
He's so good. This is such a good. This is all one take, hey?
Yeah.
That's
an improv, by the way. That wasn't scripted. That's a Paul Rudd moment.
It's such a good moment.
Yeah,
I like it.
So we get that, and then I love that we cut away, and we're immediately, starting to focus on this, and like, oh, Captain Marvel has a new costume and a ridiculous haircut. I and
Captain
like
Marvel.
and what's going on with Black Widow's hair? I hate that. The two-tone hairstyle. It
Really?
drives me nuts. I do not
I don't know.
like it.
I quite like
yeah.
it.
It's
So-
and that's the thing. It's like I'm not gonna say that it's bad because it's like different tastes. I don't particularly enjoy it.
Yeah. I didn't get another haircut like that. Yeah. And it does make me think, and you probably would be able to better speak to this. Are there a bunch of superheroes on other planets that are like helping out on their other planets?
Sure,
do we not really
there are other heroes out in the galaxy. I mean, like that's the point of the Guardians, right? Is that like there are other heroes out there. Every planet's probably got like one or two, but Earth is Earth.
Just has
and there's a reason why everything tends to happen on Earth, and it's because it's exactly what Vision says in Civil War. Like their very presence incites conflict, right? Like it they have power, and that power needs to be challenged, and that challenge breeds conflict. It's because there are heroes on Earth will always be threatened, but because there are heroes on Earth will always be safe.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Except that at the end of Infinity War they lose, so that's what makes it a great story.
I do like the Barton Ronan story. I really do like what happens with that. So
well, it's the reversal of the two characters, right?
Yeah.
Where Natasha has this dark past and believes herself to be beyond redemption, and Clint is always the person to ground her and say, no, you're not, because I care about you, so you matter, right?
Yeah.
Like, therefore you're worth redeeming. And then in this movie they flip, and it because she's found her family and he's lost his. It's
Yeah.
Again,
I love this
beautiful storytelling.
This friendship, this sort of Chandler Phoebe friendship that I like to call it.
This is definitely a Chandler Phoebe, because if you go back to Winter Soldier, they don't really get along at the beginning of that movie, and that's one of the arcs in that movie, is the two of them getting to know each other and understand why they are the way that they are, and see each other as humans and not as actual three-dimensional people, and not just the sort of icons that they are, right?
Yeah.
The stereotypes that surround them.
Yeah.
This is good.
And he looks still pretty young. I know that you're talking about like the young little Chris Evans but it's just because he's been in movies for so long, man. And they've also been friends for so long, because they were in that like SAT theft movie together.
Perfect Score.
Perfect Score. Back before she was ScarJo and he was.
And then there's another one that they were in together.
Really?
Yeah, where she's the babysitter and she's like the live-in nanny, and he's the guy who lives downstairs.
I don't think I've seen that one, but I totally want to.
Oh my goodness! Now. Okay, so I'm gonna get the title for this so that you can watch it. I think it's on Netflix even.
Oh man!
Because it's a great movie.
Those kinds of rom-coms, the best.
It's a good one. It's a goodie.
Yay!
Where is it?
Chris
The Nanny Diaries.
The Nanny Diaries. Yeah, no, I've never seen that. Ooh, I didn't know Chris Evans was in that. I love it when he plays against women in rom-coms, because he's such a good, like, I don't know. I really enjoy What's Your Number as just like it's Anna Faris, and it's such a fun movie. It's so terrible.
This is great. The reveal of
Scott Lang, yeah.
Of Scott Lang.
Yeah. And then, is this an old message? But
I'm Ant-Man. I know you know that.
Yeah, so good. I love this. But I do love that Scott is just like met them the one time in Germany, and just kind of like that was what it was. Also, that he's not under house arrest because they thought he died, so that's kind of a convenient way to get out.
No, his house arrest ended in Ant-Man and Wasp.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that's part of the story of that movie. You do need to rewatch the MCU.
Need to rewatch it. Yeah.
What, have you only watched some of these movies once?
Once. Yeah. Man and Wasp. I only watched once.
What kind of a weirdo are you?
I
I've
know,
seen
right?
every movie in the MCU no less than 3 times.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Is it impressive or a little bit sad?
I know. Yes, it's debatable. Debatable. I'm just gonna watch this movie for a little bit. You can
I was
talk.
sorry. I was trying to find a definitive list of all of the movies they've been in together, but it's okay.
That doesn't exist.
It was just a bunch of things about a thing that she
This
said.
peanut
about
butter sandwich looks so good. I love this moment. Of
Is
him
this
eating
anybody's
peanut butter
sandwich? Is such a great line.
Yeah, but also the fact that like the sandwich itself had such a great screen time setup that it just makes perfect sense that he's eating it, and so
it is. I think it is more. I don't like peanut butter. I don't eat it. So for me, it's
weird.
But even I understand that, like, watch it, like the ritual of making the sandwich and the way that she very perfectly spreads it. And then it's got that great bread to peanut butter ratio and that perfect cut. It's like, it makes it look better to eat.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh. I get emails from a raccoon. It is a good like leveler moment.
Yeah.
I don't know why they didn't go to the Hulk first. But for reals though. Like
because the Hulk isn't it's not his field.
Realm, I guess.
Right?
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
It's tangential to his field, but the Hulk is a specialist. Right?
Right.
Tony's a polymath. Tony knows all of the science. And if he doesn't know it, he'll learn it the night before, which we saw in Avengers, right? It's like, when did you learn quantum physics or whatever? And it was like last night on the way here.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a great introduction.
The suit that he makes for her is sweet, by the way.
It's a good one.
Like, I do like seeing, because I forgot that Pepper was in the third one, like, pretty kick butt. This little girl is cute.
I aspire to be as good a dad as Tony Stark. He's such a good dad in these scenes. She is so much like Kara, and that's not just me like wanting to connect two things. The personality of this kid and the way that she's characterized in this movie, the personality is exactly the same as Kara. It's good stuff. Even down to the swearing scene in a minute. It's all pretty perfect.
Yeah.
I love the way that he just like intentionally patronizes them.
Yeah.
It's just like, guys, this is stuff that you don't understand, because the only thing I understand is that it's not to be understood.
Yeah. I do like Scott's like earnestness though about stuff, that he's just like he is like the probably least intellectual of all of the folks that are like on the team.
Well, hold up.
Hold him back at all.
He's not a dumb person. He's a goof, but he's a very accomplished engineer, electrical engineer.
Oh, okay.
He fixes the Ant-Man suit at one point in one of the movies.
Oh,
like,
right, yeah, that's fair.
He's not Tony Stark, Bruce Banner, or Hank Pym, but he is a genius.
Right.
It's one of the reasons why Hank Pym chooses him. Is he's he ends up in jail because he refused to do something bad, not because he is a bad guy, right? That's his whole arc.
Yeah. Maybe goofy is the right word then, but like, I don't know, just in terms of like the most relatable maybe is what I sort of mean to sort of say, in terms of like everybody else is sort of off in these different worlds, and he doesn't let the things that he knows sort of like overpower like the like connectivity that he has to like everybody.
Of the four people
like, even
in
the taco, like even the taco moment, right, where the rest of the like, I don't know, he just plays to it really well.
But of the four of them right now in this scene, Cap is probably actually the one with the least aptitude for what they're talking about.
I mean, yeah, that's fair. Yeah. he is like just a soldier.
Yeah.
That is like the most interesting thing of Captain America is that like he just was a dude that like doesn't give up, but he's just got this like heart that he just like doesn't quit.
Having just watched Captain America, you know, the quote that Dr. Erskine says is it makes good great and bad worse, right?
Yeah.
He was already a good man. He already had a good heart, and the serum made him even more.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? This is one of the most magical things about this movie is that like that sweater sells the Hulk in a way that nothing else ever could. Because that sweater is so real, and yet it is surreal in the fact that like it's so big. He's so big.
Yeah.
Yet he's wearing clothes from the Gap. Like, and you stop and you think about it that like he obviously has to have this stuff custom made. But because he's Smart Hulk, there's subtext here that he's like monetized being a superhero in some way. He's made being the Hulk profitable.
Cuz he's good at it.
Yeah. And he's self-actualized, right? It's one of the best parts cuz he's not Banner and he's also not the Hulk. He is both of them. So he has the confidence and the impulsiveness of the Hulk, but the intelligence and the bashfulness of Bruce Banner, right? It's like it's this amazing combination. It's so good. And only Mark Ruffalo. Casting is probably one of the biggest parts of the success of the MCU.
Oh yeah. I remember it being like a thing like when like the Avengers, like the first Avengers came out and everybody was like, "Ooh, they're recasting Hulk."
Yeah.
From Edward Norton.
But then we all walked out of it and went, "He's much better."
Of course, right? Could you imagine Edward Norton as part of this?
I am not looking forward to the week that I have to watch The Incredible Hulk because I just want to reach into the screen and smack Ed Norton in the face. He ruined that movie's chance at being great. Because he just doesn't. Because you know the story behind that movie, right? He signed on, but he only agreed to do it if he had the ability to rewrite anything he wanted. So he took the screenplay home, and he basically like rewrote half the movie.
Gross.
And it's one of the reasons why the movie is such a nightmare. Because he was like, there's not enough gravitas in this. There's not enough like he wanted it to be a real serious thinking man's movie. And it's like, no, it's the Incredible Hulk.
It's supposed to be the Incredible Hulk.
Let it be what it is.
Is there a reason? There is probably, I'm now just thinking, it's bothered me that you don't see Pepper for so long. But I'm realizing that it probably has something to do with how many days Gwyneth Paltrow agreed to be on this movie. And that's why she's only really on. I don't know, but I'm just kind of like, it always to me was weird where I was like, am I supposed to guess who Morgan's mom is? Like, did something terrible happen in his life that he's like,
no, because in Infinity War, he says right before everything starts going to hell that he had a dream that they had.
But a kid. Yeah. But again, it's just again, me just being like, in terms of like how you normally set up things in films, that it would like make sense that it would be a like, I don't know, it's just like. I
love the design of this model, the graphic, all of it, because without telling us what just happened, we see it and the sound, and we see that it connect in his reaction. It's all so clear. It's so perfectly clear.
You get what happened. Yeah.
Those are some great PJs.
Yeah. She's so cool. I like the
slippers.
Yeah. Oh, she's so cute. That's a character extortion. I love it. I actually am getting a lot more out of what Tony's saying by watching this with subtitles, because like there's a lot of stuff. I didn't realize how much he called Pepper Pep. Yeah, like, and I noticed that he called her Pep so many times in the beginning either. Like, I don't know. It's just cool. So cute.
This is all very relatable for me.
That kids won't go to bed?
Just all of it. Just the whole interaction.
Yeah. Kids are cute.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's pretty great. Yeah, I can see how a person who doesn't have kids could be like, yeah, this is all fine. This is good. It's nice. But for me, it's like, this is the heart of the movie.
Aw, is it like Morgan and Tony?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so important to it because without it, he's not going to
Yeah.
make the decisions that he makes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not just her. It's also Peter, right? Because Peter is his other kid, right?
Yeah.
He took on the responsibility for Peter Parker as if he adopted him when he took him to Berlin, when he gave him that suit and he told him that what he was doing was okay, right? And Peter paid the price for it. And it's everything in Homecoming, everything that he says, he vocalizes every single part of what's going on inside his head. And then Peter dies in his arms. He doesn't even die. He turns to dust. He disappears, right? He evaporates from the universe, which is so much more final than just dying.
And with his stupid spidey sense too, that he like feels it, and it's terrible. It's a terrible ordeal.
Yeah. And so like it is that moment that we kind of talked over, he, if not for him goofing on the washing the dishes and getting water everywhere and then grabbing the picture, the photo frame and cleaning it off and seeing this picture of Peter, that's the thing that motivates him. And he says, I got when he says later on, we get back what
this
we
beautiful
lost
moment right now.
Yeah.
Where she says, but could you rest?
Yeah.
But would you be able to rest?
Yeah.
Like, is just, sorry, carry on. But like,
No.
that is such a core point to like, why, like, she's also okay at the end too. Anyways, carry on for what you were saying.
No, but that, like, that's exactly it. Like, that part of it is that, like, it's Peter is the thing that he can't rest. Everybody else, it's like what happened, but Peter was his responsibility.
Yeah.
And he can't live with that because it's selfish of him to go, well, I've got this kid, but he did lose another kid. And if there's a chance, if there's a slim possibility that they can get that back, then he has to take that risk. He's Tony Stark. He's Iron Man. That's what he does. Right. And Pepper knows that. And it's why she's a good partner. And tells him, this is so good. Yeah. This is so good.
The like traveling. I do Captain America.
He doesn't got this though. He doesn't.
No. It all goes terribly wrong.
Yeah.
Anyways.
And it's a good. I love that it's all like, let's play it for laughs. It's goofy, but it is also, there's some tension here. You're like, are they gonna solve this or?
Yeah.
Like it just keeps getting progressively worse. I don't this like cut the power thing. This is such a sci-fi gobbledygook moment of like how's that gonna fix it?
Yeah.
I love Hulk is just like it's fine. Here we go.
It is just a comical moment of killing the power and that's what happens.
And then one of the best lines in the movie. Somebody peed my pants.
It is so good. He is
or just
like so comic relief. I
and Hulk, no. It's all so fast and like Steve just shakes his head.
Right. Oh, so good. It's good. I love how much crap there is in that warehouse. That it just speaks to so much truth about like having a giant warehouse of just like of stuff. Are we approaching where you told us we were gonna stop watching?
This is the last scene that we're gonna watch. And then we're gonna take our break. But if you're listening to the full commentary, we're just gonna keep going. I will splice these together seamlessly, and you can just keep watching the movie. But we're gonna stop in a second here. I love he overshoots it, and then sheepishly rolls the car back, and Steve's just like, ugh. It's so good.
Their relationship is so good. He turned into a baby. Aww. I don't know. if any of these are like real time like theory
I don't
things
know.
that they're talking about. I do like it though when they do use like real time theory, time travel theory. So
I just love that what we always talk about with time travel or sci-fi or fantasy. It's like you set up your rules and then you live to those rules. And
Yeah.
Tony coming up and like rolling. So the scene before wasn't just a goof. It's a setup for his way's going to work. And the reason why we know his way is going to work is because he just told us what happened and what went wrong. The Hulk doesn't know what went wrong. Otherwise, he wouldn't have done it. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But Tony does, and he just explains it to us in a super simplistic, succinct way. Instead of pushing him through time, you push time through him, right? And it's and then we get the reconciliation between Tony and Steve right off the heels of that, and such a good moment.
He's just such a huge person. Like, sorry, just looking at Chris Evans. This is the best. Like the shield coming out like underneath
all the
the
kid
like
stuff. Yeah,
I just love it. It's so good. Did the shield get broken previously? Like, does he make this again, or
No.
is this like this?
That's
is just
the same
shield?
shield.
He just took it, right? Because he just took it because he thought that it was his.
He said that shield doesn't belong to you, and Steve threw it down on the ground and walked away.
Right. Yeah. Aw, it's so his shield though. Again,
it does belong.
By like it just is. It's just so good. I did like seeing like Howard Stark as well too, and you just like these lovely bookends. I really do highly recommend that people watch. That's it. We're getting the whole team together again.
Yeah,
we'll come back and see tacos the next time
we
go.
start on tacos next week. Yeah, man, I could do the whole movie, but we're not going to.
It's late.
It is late. That is it for this episode of the Thunderquack podcast. Let us know how you feel about the split up commentary watch along, and if this works for you guys, if you guys like it,
because it's sure fun for us, man.
Man, as long as we're
that we enjoy,
as long as we're doing great movies like this, it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, sure.
I could talk about this movie forever. Thank you guys for listening. You can nope, that's wrong. That's not the right show. Thank you for listening. That's correct. You can head to thunderquack.com to check out all the other great podcasts in the Thunderquack Podcast Network. And if you like what you heard, you can support us. No, I didn't do any of the social media stuff. I'm all out of sorts. You can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Thunderquack Podcast. I think.
I can never help you with these, and I always feel so useless.
On Twitter at ThunderquackPod, and no, I think on Facebook it's just at Thunderquack. On Twitter it's at ThunderquackPod, and on Instagram at ThunderquackPodcast.
Yes, you can also follow us individually on Twitter. I'm at Akonkin, AKONKIN. You can add an 86 to that for Instagram.
And I'm on Twitter and Instagram at ArkwUlf, ARKWULF. If you like what you heard, which, as I always say, how could you not? Like, we just talked over the first 47 minutes and 53 seconds of Avengers Endgame. I love that, like, delightful. We decided to do this, and it's like, let's start at the end. Doesn't matter. Yes. If you like what you heard, you can support us in 3 ways. First, by going to the podcast service of your choice and leaving a rating and review. Thank you to everybody who does. It helps other people, new listeners, find the podcast, and helps us grow the community, which is great for everyone. So definitely do that. The other way is by heading to store.thunderquack.com. I can't believe I didn't open the episode with this. We have new merch.
Oh, yeah. I saw that.
And some of it is specifically MCU themed, actually. I did the Thunderquack logo in the style of the Marvel Studios logo, as well as the Star Wars logo, and the Thunderquack logo. The new Thunderquack logo is also available in a kind of retro 80s Thor Ragnarok style, actually. Very similar. And you can get that on all sorts of stuff. And I actually went in and I updated some of the stuff with some of the new products that are available on Redbubble. So now you can get kids clothing in most of the styles, as well as face masks, which is very timely.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a couple of good ones that actually make pretty good face masks. I personally think "Let's get dangerous," Darkwing Duck's motto, on
Oh, yeah.
on a pandemic face mask is a good look, and I might be ordering that one for myself. So yeah, go to store.thunderquack.com and check that out. Thank you to everybody who does head over there and purchase stuff. Last but not least, you can head to patreon.com/thunderquack and kick in with your monthly pledge of support and get some cool extras like our Patreon producers, Brian Murowski and JJ Samuel. Thank you guys for supporting us as Patreon producers. And thank you to everybody who supports us over on patreon.com/thunderquack. We couldn't do it without you guys. It's awesome to have that kind of support, especially right now, and to see the numbers progressively actually go up over the last few months has been really cool. So I guess we're doing something right. Look, we're not the biggest podcast on the internet, but we do have, I think, one of the best fan bases, best group of listeners, and an awesome community over on Facebook and just out there on the internet in general. So thank you to everybody who does support us, even if it's just by listening to the podcast and interacting with us on social media. It all means a lot to us. So thank you for that. And I will say again, go and donate to some local organizations, maybe a museum, maybe an aquarium, maybe just your local food bank or homeless shelter, because everybody could really use a little bit of extra help right now. And it's important. It's important to be good citizens when the world is kind of on the edge as it is at the moment. So that's it for this episode. Thank you guys for listening. If you support us on Patreon at the $10 level or above, stay tuned, because we got it's a very long conversation after the music. But otherwise, thank you for listening. We will catch you guys next week.
Stay safe, everyone. Wash your hands and be kind to one another.